hot and techy Brezza, the city-bred SUV.
Easy for the Knight Riders. They have gunned down this target of 183. They've made it a win over RCB, a rivalry that is picking up steam in recent years. But how pleased would Shreyas Iyer and the KKR can be. It's the first home team to drop points in this year's IPL. And with that surface change, why was it so easy? Could RCB have done anything more with the ball? Well, we'll ask those questions and more as I invite your comments too. If you're watching on our YouTube Live on Maruti Suzuki Arena Presents ESPN Cricket 4 Timeout, Tom Moody, Mitch McClenaghan and Varun Aaron all said at half-time they backed KKR to get it. I wonder if you felt at that time it'll be this easy. Why was it so easy, Varun?
I think from a matchup perspective, them playing Azari Joseph is always going to be a threat to RCB because he's a really good bowler, but not for Chinnaswamy Stadium. At the Chinnaswamy, if you see the most successful bowlers have been Ashish Nehra, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Vinay Kumar, Arvind. All these bowlers, actually when they hit length, it finishes somewhere at the stumps or maybe 6-7 inches above that. If you go too short, or if you're somebody who really bangs the ball in at Chinnaswamy, all the batsman has to do is just give it some elevation and it goes for 6. So Azari Joseph, either he changes his length, starts bowling fuller, that's not his strength, or they just play Lockie Ferguson.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to lead us to a longer chat because it did seem at some point, Mitch, that Faf just didn't know who to turn to. Almost like there was no bowler that looked threatening today.
Yeah, they didn't really change it up from the blueprint that they've had in previous games. They used Yash Dale, 3 overs in the power play again, even though he was getting hit around the park. Looked like they didn't have another option to bowl in the power play. And that's always concerning if you don't have four bowlers who can bowl in the power play. They just went with the 3. Exactly ran out the same plan they did last time. And they just didn't execute their deliveries as well. Like to Narayan, you've got to consistently be above the belly button, trying to come into the ribs, into the armpit. Don't let him free his arms. And when they did go pace off to him, it just ended up being floaty and full and was right in the arc for Narayan. Yep, he got a little bit lucky with chipping a couple just over the circle. But tactically, they were just off.
Yeah, that power play that you speak of, it's the highest power play score, Tom Moody, in this year's tournament. That's in spite of a game where we saw 520 runs scored, but 85 without loss. Game's done there. It's easy after that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 2 in a row now for KKR. They had that power play of 100, and this is the second highest power play, which is the same opposition. So not great reading for RCB. Yeah, look, I felt that it didn't appear that their bowling unit learnt a lot from the first innings. What worked for KKR when they made the adjustments on the move, which is ideally what you want to see your bowling unit do, is sort of assess the conditions and then make those adjustments, whether that's pace off, whether that's length, whatever it may be, that's communicated and implemented pretty quickly. They failed to do that, and they're a little bit lost to, and nearly looked surprised to the onslaught at the beginning. You shouldn't be surprised when Narayan walks out to bat and opening and he's swinging at every ball. That's a given. What you need to be is calm and be very cool in how you execute on getting him out. And I felt they weren't that at all. They were either floaty full or, predictably short. And therefore it just, sits perfectly in his wheelhouse.
Saying what they didn't learn from the first innings. Now, Varun Aaron asked me to dig these numbers up at our halftime show, what the returns were in the first innings when KKR were bowling of the pace-off delivery, which really seemed to work for them, especially as the innings went deeper. So, in the first innings, KKR conceded 19 runs of 22 pace-off balls. This is as per our manual records. And in the second innings, RCB conceded 46 of 21. Take it away.
See, I mean, if you see the way they bowl their slow balls are very different. Yash Dayal bowls the back of the hand. Mohammad Siraj, he does bowl the off-cutter, but he just runs his fingers down it. He doesn't really give any revs on it. But if you see Harshit Rana slow balls, a lot of revs, dip on the ball, cut off the wicket. Even Mitchell Stark's slow balls are like very revy, So the more revs you give on a slow ball, the more it bites off the wicket and it slows down after pitching. So different kind of bowlers, different kinds of slow balls, and the slow balls and Azari Joseph didn't really bowl too many slow balls. He was just bowling pace on.
It's all how you bowl that slow ball.
Yeah.
Well, into the surface.
Harshit Rana actually, to me, first time I've seen him kind of run that hard slower ball. and he had really good seam position. When you get a wicket that's a little bit sticky, you don't want to be the bowler who bowls with the revs going around. You don't want that seam going around that way. You want it to come out like a spinner.
Yeah.
You want it to really make sure that every time you bowl it, it's 45 degrees and it's going to hit the seam, because the seam's what sticks in the wicket. So all of their slower balls today were that going this way, and just if they hit the shiny side on that wicket, it wasn't going to grip.
Except for one bowler, Vishak.
Vashak, yeah.
Yep.
I thought he was excellent today. 1 for 23 off his 4, and his control was bang on, but also his adjustment of pace was bang on, and where he delivered that off-pace delivery. So he's had a good outing today.
Also, his on-pace deliveries, he just didn't give any width. Like, all of his on-pace deliveries were at the batsman's hip. To Venkatesh Iyer, to the other righty who was batting, he just didn't give them any. To Shreyas Iyer, to both the Iyers actually.
Okay, you're joining in the conversation on our YouTube Live, and I'm welcoming your comments too. Sunny saying Vaishak was the only bowler to read the pitch and bowl so well. Surprised that there were only 2 overs of Mayank Dagar before he came in when the game was done. Could they have used spin more? They used 6 overs of pace, I think, second game running. It's need a brave captain to bowl spin when Narayan and Salt are playing that way, or is it a smart captain who must bring in spin earlier?
You've got to have spin to bowl spin. And that's RCB's problem. They don't have the likes of a Chakravarti or a Narayan. They did have Hasaranga. He was released back into the auction, and Sunrisers welcomed him at base price. I think what we're seeing today is an example of what we all know is the real lack of depth and variety in this attack. Yes, they've got some depth of overseas bowlers on the bench. What they need to consider is the configuration of their overseas players if they're going to go forward.
And at the core of that lies the trade of Cameron Green, which will be looked at every game that they lose, perhaps with greater scrutiny. He's bowled just the 1 over. I wonder if he could have been used as a bowler on this. But Cameron Green's expectations out of the bat, you're always going to play him. And then there's no real room to play all these names we brought up before. Lockie Ferguson, Reece Topley, maybe even Tom Curran, but certainly those 2 are ahead of him.
Well, even if you go with the 2 overseas players, you go with a Tom Curran, you've got a 4 over bowler that will bat 7 for you. So you're not compromising your batting as much. You got Patidar batting at 3, Maxwell 4, Lomraw 5, Rowat 6, and then Tom Curran potentially 7.
You can't play a 17.5 crore trade on the bench, can you? But
it's got nothing to do with money, though, Raunak. It's got nothing to do with money. It's got to do with winning games of cricket and getting the right balance. And that's where I think you can get a little bit sort of, influenced by the wrong things. You've got to go with form, you've got to go with balance.
Yeah, teams get off to... most teams, I guess, if you look historically, I want to word this right, most teams historically get off to a bad start, play the money first. Exactly what you're touching on. They play, because they've picked someone up for 17 crore or 11 crore or whatever it is, they're like, well, we've paid that, we've got to play them. And they might not be the best player to fit into that system. And it's quite often... can actually get your team off to a really bad start, and then you start going, thinking past the money, I can bench that guy, and then that's when teams get the right chemistry and the right makeup after they bench that money. So look, it's a hard decision. You made that trade, but I think getting the 2 overseas bowlers, particularly at home, is going to be very valuable to RCB if they want to get back into this competition.
Yeah, I mean, the Alzari Joseph point comes from there, I guess. Varun saying he's not the right bowler for that surface. He's the 11.5 crore signing. They started with Reece Topley last year. Topley was a 1.9 crore signing. So started well, unfortunately got injured, missed out rest of the tournament. He's on their bench over here. But you just start with Alzari. And I know there are a lot of comments coming in on our YouTube Live actually on Alzari being a bad pick at the auction. And nothing against him. Alzari Joseph's wonderful bowler. But there are those that are Anonymous is putting up that they could have gone for Kutz here. They could have gone for Andre Berger. They could have gone even Spencer Johnson with that sort of money. I don't know. It's another young player.
Well, with that pick, I mean, they still picked up Lockie Ferguson at 2 crore at his base price. So it's kind of balanced that out. If you split that money across both of those guys, if you pick them both up for 5, you'd be like, oh, cool, we've had a good auction. We've got 2 good options. Lockie Ferguson, for mine, in terms of his recent form, is probably the number 1 seamer in that group.
you need a bowler who can hit the stumps in Chinnaswamy Stadium. You cannot have a bowler who's bowling chest-high balls because it's way too small a ground for anybody to be doing that at 145 clicks. Even if the batsman swings and edges, it's 6. You know, I mean, so I don't know why RCB haven't seen this trend amongst the bowlers who have been successful at the Chinnaswamy Stadium. It's bowlers who generally hit the stumps more. Mohammad Siraj, prime example. He's somebody who, when he's bowling well, hits the stumps, bowls that top of off, maybe a little higher than that. That's about it.
There's a question a little
Yeah,
earlier.
skiddy.
Everybody who's skiddy does well. Lockie Ferguson might actually be a really good replacement.
Okay, there's a question earlier on Siraj and whether the panel feels he's going for too many runs and whether his form hasn't quite been the same since the World Cup. Anything on that?
It's been 3 games now.
Yes.
Come on. It's been 3 games, and I feel where they've gone wrong today with Narayan is, I feel Narayan is one of those, like Sanju Samson is one of those batsmen who you try and keep quiet, he'll get himself out. Narayan is one of those batsmen who you try and get out early. Because if you don't try and move the ball to him, like I said before the start, none of them bowl that length where they could actually move the ball, try to nick him off, get something going. They went defensive from the start. Again, Chinnaswamy, if you keep bumping guys, chances are that things are going to fly.
But I guess the fans are kind of asking for answers and what didn't go well for him tonight. And he, out of the whole group of those bowlers, didn't even look to change the pace.
Yeah.
And to me, that's I'm sure at half time there was a plan from the bowling coach or from the senior players group to say, look, it's sticking in the wicket. We need to bowl a majority of slower balls if we get under pressure. And so either that he didn't listen to the plan or he thought his plan was better. And I don't think either one of those are good things.
You know, we're talking about the one fast bowler that they can afford to play if this is the balance they go with. And we've spoken of Cameron Green and how Tom Moody's made the point of how you can still ignore what he was traded for, the amount, and play another team. That's 3 players covered. Maxwell's Maxwell. Now there are lots of questions coming in on Faf du Plessis. From Jagmohan Bish, should Faf rest and give Will Jacks a chance? Could Faf be set aside to allow them to play then, you know, the extra bowler and still keep Cameron Green? Are we really having the conversation on Faf du Plessis as well? Is it a conversation worth having? Because there aren't any captaincy contenders screaming in that 11 otherwise as well.
I don't think that Faf's a conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I don't think at all. I think he's proven himself for long enough that you know, he's a very fine leader. If anyone's going to turn this campaign around, and again, it's, you know, it's not like it's gone that far off track. But if anyone's going to turn it around, it's going to be the calmness and the experience of a Faf du Plessis. We know what he's capable of doing as a top order batter, but they do need to address the balance.
I need to quickly move on because the RCB fans are just coming in and expressing their emotions, as I understand. But anyone who has a different opinion to that on Faf, or happy with that?
No,
Faf's fine?
There's no chance of dropping
Okay.
Faf this
Yeah.
early.
It's fine at the moment, yep.
At the moment, operative word at the moment.
Well, I mean, because if he doesn't score runs and continues
Yeah.
to not score runs, then conversation. But what you touched on earlier and what Tom's just touched on.
Very quickly, a couple of points before I move to our rapid fire, but because this is also a recurring theme and trend on the questions and comments from the viewers. How do we look at the first inning score in hindsight?
I thought it was a good score.
Right.
I still think it's a
I
good
agree.
score.
Yeah.
I think they bowled poorly. I also think that, which we haven't touched on, I felt the surface got a little bit better as the night went on. And that can sometimes happen at that place and other venues around the world, not just in India, where when it goes into night, you get a little bit of moisture. You may not have a lot of dew, but there's a little bit of dew. I noticed players had towels out the back of their trousers, so there was obviously a little bit of dew. And the ball can just skid onto the bat and not hold like it did in the first inning. So that's a point that we need to consider.
Did that surprise you? Because at halftime we had the chat and you said, rarely does the Chinnaswamy service play differently in a night game.
Absolutely, unless there's dew.
Okay, so dew
So
came in.
if I mean, I had a look at that. They all had towels, and that does suggest that there was little dew. If there's any onset of dew, then it does get better.
Just
Like
skids
like
a little
Tom said.
bit.
Yeah,
So
skids a
those
little bit.
slower balls don't sit
But
as much. They
But
sort
none of their bowlers actually bowl like
Yeah, well, that's
a
the problem as
revving
well.
slower ball.
Yeah, well,
Well,
that's
yes,
double problem.
Yeah, Yashdial's slow ball that got out Venkatesh Iyer, that actually moved quite a bit.
Yeah.
So that shows that the wicket didn't skid on as much. They just didn't bowl those balls. that you
Absolutely,
talked
yeah.
about.
If our good friend Gautam Gambhir was watching this show, would he be a bit disappointed that we've only spoken of RCB and not really much on KKR.
I think he knows that. He'll know that was a dominant performance. He doesn't need us to pump him up.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to quickly move to the rapid-fire review of the game. Varun, you'll enjoy this. One question to each of you. You answer in 20 seconds or less. I don't even think he needs to be. He doesn't need training wheels. He's had a stellar debut.
He's up and running. He's up and running. He's flying.
All right. Rapid-fire analysis coming up. Tom Moody, you first up. Why does Sunil Narayan tend to enjoy batting the most against Bangalore? 20 seconds.
Well, I think he enjoys the ground there. It's a small ground. We saw a number of his mishits just land between the 30-yard circle and the boundary, where in a lot of other venues that can be caught. And when he does collect it, it goes for 6. So he's a real threat in those power play overs.
Okay, brilliant. Varun Aaron, Kolkata's use of the slower balls, was that the key to the outcome of the game? 20 seconds.
Absolutely.
Nice start, mate. Okay, perfect.
I can work with that. I can totally work with that. Mitch, now I have to change the rule. Please speak for at least 20 seconds.
Okay.
Not 2 seconds.
Do Bangalore need to consider either Topley or Ferguson over Alzari Joseph? 20 seconds, start now.
Absolutely. Yes, they do.
Okay,
They definitely do.
Give me your pick though. Ferguson?
If they're only going to go 1, I think they'll go with Reece Topley. If they're going to go 2, they'll go Ferguson and Topley.
Mate, he's your teammate. You got to go with Ferguson.
I would do that way. I'm trying to pick what RCB is going to go with. I would go with Ferguson, but what I think they'll do is they'll go Topley.
Okay. Tom Moody, what is Mitchell Starc getting wrong, if at all? 20 seconds.
I just think he's struggled with his rhythm early on. He hasn't swung the new ball like he has normally done. Normally gets at least 1 over where the ball swings. And the opposition have got the jump on him. So, he hasn't really got into the contest yet, but look out, his time will come.
Okay. In spite of it being in a losing cause, Varun, please rate Virat Kohli's innings out of 10 and your summation of it. 20 seconds.
I would give it 9, just because obviously he scored a lot of runs and he really adapted well from the other game, and he was the only RCB batsman to really get it going, and everybody else was struggling around him.
All right. Mitch, great batting from Kolkata, or was it more about Bangalore just not being threatened with the ball? 20 seconds.
I think from the outset, great batting from Phil Salt. He took some pressure off at the start, big first over, and then Narayan got away with a couple and then really started to hit his stride. So I thought power play batting set it all up, and it was great batting at the top.
Okay, excellent. That is our rapid fire review done and dusted. And just very quickly on that point, though, Phil Salt, it's 2 games now. Other players may have got player of the match, etc., but that turned out to be a great replacement. Nothing against Jason Roy, but Salt looks just the part and exactly what they needed.
Yeah, he's a form player. The last 12 months he's shown some really good form. He's got 2 brilliant hundreds in the Caribbean. Either side of the auction, interesting enough, and he still didn't attract a bid during the auction. Yeah, look, I rate Phil Salt. I think he's a really exciting player. He's got quick hands. He times the ball sweetly. He's a good keeper, and if you're not needing him with the gloves, he's a gun fielder.
He's the type of batter who puts you under a lot of pressure, and it can make you, if you're not clear in your plan, he can make you go away from it quite early and make you bowl bad balls.
Venki Iyer, handy score for him as well. It's a big player for them.
100%. I mean, not just Venkatesh Iyer, even Shreyas Iyer. Shreyas Iyer is not looking in really good touch, but it was good that he got to come into bat at a time where there wasn't too much pressure, so he even got runs. But Venkatesh Iyer played some really, really good shots. I'm just a bit concerned about his back. I just hope it holds up.
All right. Yeah, we saw him on just after he hit a 6 of Alzari Joseph, just hold his back, and that has been a recurring problem for Venki Iyer. We've discussed a lot of, still a lot of questions and comments coming in, but we've discussed a lot about the RCB batting order and their tactics on our halftime show. So I'd advise you to go check that out. The panel's given their opinion on where they felt they could have done more. But yeah, the surface indeed did change a bit in their assessment. So put all that into your account. But they now will have the pleasure of reviewing the most important part of the day to see how Varun Aaron on his debut fared against the intimidating Tom Moody and Mitchell McClenaghan in the impact zone. So let's go there. remember they picked 3 players each, right, at the start of the game, batter, bowler and a wild card, and as per ESPN Cricinfo's Smart Stats, we decide our MVPs and we award them a rating that in our eyes is certainly more accurate to see how they contribute towards a T20 game more than conventional numbers. Expert who wins gets 3 points in their season tally. We'll keep adding that up as the tournament goes deeper. His first pick today was Sunil Narayan, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're generous giving him that first pick.
That's true.
Because it was actually my turn.
Was it?
No, it
Yes.
can't be a bad
Hand
loser.
on heart, would you have
no.
picked Narayan first?
Absolutely.
Really?
100%. It was 500th game.
Yeah.
I thought about it on the way here. Thought,
Sorry.
if I get the chance, Narayan's the one. Anyway, that's fine.
Let's go have a look. See if Sunil Narayan has won. Varun Aaron, anything? We'll come to that in a second. Those were the outrageous picks. Varun Aaron, what a debut. Oh, it's a smart picture as well. I don't know where he got that from. But he's got the sunnies on, and Sunil Narayan with 101 impact points. In fact, that's the highest for any player from today, and he has also been awarded player of the match at the Chinnaswamy Stadium. Handy points from Anukul Roy, right? He bowls 2 tidy overs in a day where other bowlers have gone for runs. So you could see Anukul's actually given you some impact points.
100%.
Rinku didn't have much to do.
I'm really disappointed with that.
Why?
Virat Kohli, 50. I'm getting 50 points from Virat Kohli. That's ridiculous.
I'll tell you why that's happening.
Yeah, I
Even though
know,
got
because he's on the
85.
losing side.
No, it's not losing side. It's the 83 of 59 at a strike rate of 140 is now being compared with Narayan, strike rate of 200 plus, Venki Iyer, 50 of 30. So that sort of reduces, unfortunately. That's where the numbers don't take into consideration the changing nature of the surface and all that.
Exactly. That's why I'm not happy with it. So there you go. I think we need to go and have a word to that team about those impact stats.
Why don't you do?
But I think my wild card was the best. I mean, Anukul Roy, nobody would pick that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's-
because it was a wild card. You threw a real
it's your
wild
love
one in
child.
Lots of love from Varun Aaron to his old teammate.
It's really like your next door neighbour you picked.
No, he's actually really good. he is.
Oh, we saw, mate. He
you
got
need
you
to
28
respond to
points.
this,
mate. Honestly,
we
you don't have to
didn't
convince
even
us.
see him bat. I wish he had
I
batted.
remember watching him in the under-19s
You've seen
in
him?
Tasmania.
Oh, great.
He had a very good series there, and it was the same series that Abhishek Sharma
Correct.
was on. He was bowling his left arm spin,
Correct.
but Anukul Roy was the leading left arm spinner, and also played some very impactful batting innings. So I'm with you. Don't worry, you don't have to convince me.
Thank you very much.
Okay, little things like that. But yeah, he did apply the brakes, 2 tidy overs. KKR didn't even seem to miss Nitish Rana. We'll wait to hear more about him. I'm sure with the camp will be asked as Venki Iyer is attending the post-match press conference as we speak. Some outrageous predictions were also made today. You saw that a little while back. Anukul to score 50 plus, his number never came. It's a shame. Otherwise, I'm sure Varun Aaron would have had a good chance. As it turns out, Angrish Raghuvanshi had a nice start. Easy win for his side. Didn't get to see him even though he was handed his cap. Mitch. Nah, no Mitch.
Oh, the pick Stark, didn't I? And I thought you've got to back your opening fast bowler. So,
But look at Tom Moody down there. Just look at he backed his opening fast bowler. Stark to go for 45 plus, and he was proven right.
Do I get a point for that? Is there?
Yes, Yash
think
is
you
doing
do,
the math. You're getting points for all these things you say.
That's good. What about being one
but
run
is
off
that
the
gonna
total?
cheer you
I
up?
was just going to
Is
say
that gonna
that
cheer you up?
was even crazier.
Sorry?
The 1 run off the total, 182. He said 181.
Oh, you'll get something for that as well.
that's not correct.
I might get a sort of little
not
chocolate or
correct,
something for that.
So this is like we take inspiration from the World Test Championship. So we'll just show you a table at the end, and you just see who's 1, 2, 3. Don't ask me how
Can
we
you
got
declare
there.
what the prize is?
It's a car.
Oh, is it a car?
Yeah,
Okay,
Suzuki's
perfect.
going to sponsor it for us.
Yeah.
Excellent. Will I fit in as a Suzuki?
Well,
Yes.
that's the question.
Sit in the
It
back
is-
seat.
No, it's very spacious. Maruti Suzuki Arena will give you a very. All their cars are very spacious, Tom.
Actually, looking
And-
at that,
and-
Tom,
And
they
they're
are
and they're
spacious,
high as
aren't
well.
they?
The
Does look
ceilings
good.
are pretty high.
No, of course they are.
Yeah.
They're very spacious.
I know,
put
I've
Bish
been in one.
Yeah, see,
They're
There you go.
excellent.
I invite
Maruti is definitely
all of
going
your
to be
comments and questions also to suggest what Tom Moody deserves for winning this at the end of the tournament. Since we
Oh,
haven't-
I'm winning
since
it
we
already,
haven't-
am I?
We haven't decided. All right. But thank you so much, Varun. That was an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you very
You're
much.
with us all
It's a
week, so
pleasure
don't
being
go
here.
anywhere.
Yes, thank you.
And Mitch McClenaghan, Tom Moody, you have the chance to try and steal that cup back tomorrow. So I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you for sending the questions and comments in. I know there's so much that we still want to cover, but it's a long season. So do get the thoughts of the panel tomorrow as we build up to Punjab and Lucknow, just around the toss. if you're in India. So look forward to your company then on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. Download the mobile app. So there'll be plenty written and said about how things went at the Chinnaswamy. And we've got plenty of cricket coming up on the weekend. Just the one game on Saturday. So make sure you join us then. Bye-bye.
All new hot and techy Brezza, the Citybird SUV.